Hey, everybody. Thanks for all joining us today. Just the Subspace Support Team meeting. Today we'll be diving into kind of our plans for the Gemini 2 stress test and what we'll be handling on the support side and kind of our game plan moving forward. Obviously, if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to chime in. Definitely would like all of you guys' feedback as we go through and continue to iterate. But to start with, I'm sure you guys have seen our announcement out this morning. We had just announced that we'll be starting our stress test September 6th, next Tuesday. At least for me, it might be a Monday or a Wednesday for you, depending on your time zone. But we'll be launching at about 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or 3 p.m. Universal Standard Time. And we'll be doing a little launch party in the Discord. There's an event and everything if you wanted to come hang out and join. I'm sure we'll have some questions and it'll be a good time as well. But really our focus for this version of the stress test is to primarily focus on the updated consensus and node mechanisms that the development team has been implementing, and also really focus on some of the improvements for like slow sync times, slow salt recommitments, and some of the various other minor improvements the development team has put in over the past months. So we're really trying to narrow this one down into rather being kind of a broad stress test that tests everything. We're really focusing on testing, the consensus, uptimes, sync times, and salt recommitments. So any of you like OGs who have been around for a while, we're really looking to resolve those issues that I'm sure you saw in the previous versions of the stress test. As far as the support teams play into that, obviously our overall high mission is to ensure that all users who would like to participate in the subspace network is able to do so efficiently and with no issue. And furthermore, the true, deliverable of the support team is to ensure that all bugs and issues are effectively reported upstream to the development team. We've all been there where, you have some issue that's been a problem for software for years and years and years, and for some reason it's never fixed. Step two is wise because, a lot of open source projects really fail on that second step of ensuring that those issues are reported back up to the GitHub or to the development team in some way. So that's where we really want to focus on improving our support team, at least in this iteration, because previous versions we've all done very well in ensuring everyone gets up and running and everything and doing our best there. But a good point of improvement in my eyes would be to ensure that we get all those bugs reported upstream, so the development team can just continue to improve that process for all of us. One quote that I love from Albert Einstein that makes when I think about support is strive not to be of success, but rather of value. And so it's not necessarily more important that you get that user up and running, but more so be of value to them. And sometimes that might mean reporting that issue up to the development team and leaving them hanging until that solution is resolved from the development team themselves. So just something to keep in mind, as we move forward into this stress test, and if you're generally providing support on the subspace network, just try and keep that mindset. It'll help you kind of keep clear on our direction. But so from a process high level, our support team generally works in this pretty much short 5-step process. So the user will come across an issue and they will post that problem. Generally, ideally the forums, but also Discord or Telegram are also perfectly acceptable places to post those issues as well. Once that issue is posted, the level 1 support should see that issue and attempt to resolve that issue by referring to existing solutions on the forums, the documentation, and various other materials that may be available. Ultimately, if you're not able to find a solution as an L1, or none of your insight, you can't quite make any headway, that's when you're going to make sure that it's a forum post. So if the user did not initially put it in the forums, as in it was on Discord or Telegram, you want to move that conversation over to the forums and then tag the L2 team. And we'll go through exactly on how to do that here in just a moment. And the L2 will attempt to resolve, obviously. And if they're unable to resolve that issue, the L2 team will then create an issue on our support triage GitHub board, which is a new subspace organization repository we've opened. That's basically a hub for issues. So then we can kind of divvy them out as needed into the various different sub-projects that we have. Because obviously our project's, pretty sparsely spread across the various different repositories. And then from there, it'll enter into the development queue, and obviously the developers will start cranking away at it and hopefully get it resolved. So I was just going to run through a quick little visual to kind of give you guys an insight on how that would look kind of in person, if you will. Give me just a second to switch my screens over. Alrighty. You guys should be able to see the forums on my screen now.
Yeah, we can see.
Awesome. So let's just hop in and we'll hop on. Let's just take Jim's little problem from earlier. So hypothetically, Jim just posted this issue, and I'm the L1 technician who came in and just saw this. I would come in, obviously, I would search around, try and find an existing solution. Let's say in this case, there's no existing solutions provided. So what I would do is simply come down, go to reply, and just provide some context. In this case, will just be no existing solutions found. Please take a look. And then we'll just tag the support level 2. In this case, it's just support. And then you'll see the abbreviations pop up. So we have L1 and L2, L2. And then when you actually make that comment, anyone who's in that support group will get tagged. I would have been tagged, but since I tagged myself, it already removed the notification. But I think you all get the general idea. And then from there, obviously, the support L2 will come in. They will take a look. They will triage everything. If they determine that it's an issue that's worthy of fully going up to the GitHub support board, we'll take the link. And we'll come over to the support triage board, and we'll throw it into the no status column. We're starting with no status, so that way that the engineers can then go through and categorize them as necessary, and escalate those that are necessary, or maybe provide some additional insights to something that maybe didn't need to be escalated. But in general, for the issue, we just want to provide some insight. So failed to locate byte, and then the link, and then just hit enter. It'll automatically create it there, and then you're good to go. So that's just the process that the L2s will run through once they've been tagged by the L1s.
Yeah, just maybe we can add additional context about L2 and L1. So L0 is P2P support, user-to-user support, and L1 is our ambassador team, our support ambassador team. And L2 is our engineering team. So yeah, maybe that's clear. Yeah.
So I was about to hop into that just next here. So
okay.
As far as the levels go, the level 1 general focus. So if you're a level 1 technician, your general kind of priorities are going to be 1, information collection. So when a user creates a post, I'm sure we've all seen it oftentimes, is just help, it doesn't work. And so we're missing a lot of information there. What doesn't work? What error are you getting? What operating system are you on? What hardware are you using? Is this a laptop, a custom desktop, a server at AWS? What exactly did you do leading up to this? And what have you tried so far? Overall, just really ensuring that that post is well structured and formatted with the information that obviously L1 and further will need to really help this user. Because without the error, the hardware, the operating system, any of those details, we're pretty much just trying to tread water, and we'll never really be able to find an honest solution without just kind of trying to throw things at the wall and see what sticks. So beyond that, besides information collection, the second priority will be providing, those easy to go to solutions. So those will be, form posts that have already been created and marked as solved, how-to articles that have been written by either the subspace or the subspace community, common resolutions to common problems, any misunderstanding of documentation, really trying to weed out any of those, quote, user-caused issues. So, and that can mean anything, whether they forgot a comma somewhere, or maybe there was just something in the documentation that wasn't very clear on how to, open up a firewall or something along those lines. And then beyond that, obviously, level 1 second priority will be escalating up to L2. And just a quick text version of the L1 process. I'll send this slide deck over to you guys after the meeting as well, so you all have a copy to refer to. But as mentioned earlier, the process is, issues raised, L1 attempts to resolve with the resources they have available, and if they can't, move it over to the forums and escalate. Now on the L2 side, L2 is where it starts to get a little bit more technical. So this is when those users are going to actually start focusing on like true issue identification, trying to determine exactly if it's the node or the farmer that's having issues. Is there maybe failing hardware or a hard drive that's going bad that's causing issues? Maybe incompatible software versions or networking and firewall issues. These are kind of some of the issues that we'll start to see in level 2. So that is why it is obviously a little bit more technical position as well. Because you'll have to be familiar with troubleshooting, trying to determine those root causal factors for various different errors, and testing potential solutions and even recreating those issues locally. And ultimately, L2 will be the ones providing those new solutions that hopefully the L1s can then use on, re-instances of those problems down the line. And then, like in any other level, if they can't resolve it, they will escalate up to the development team, who will then, triage it and troubleshoot it from their own process as well. And as Diana mentioned as well, there is also a level 0. Level 0 is, you can think of level 0 as the documentation or self-help level. So that's ideally, our end cause is most users should hopefully be able to solve their problems at level 0. Meaning they have a problem, they Google it, what does this mean? And all of a sudden they just find, a quick answer on Google or through our forums or what have you, and able to solve their own problem without ever having to reach out to us and, take any more of our busy support time. So that's also a good thing to keep in mind as well. Our goal with support is to always improve level 2. So as you're going through, as a level 1, if you notice that maybe you're seeing a lot of misunderstandings of documentation, like people keep messing up step 2 every time. Why do they always mess up step 2? That would be a good time to then tag that forum post or tag that issue in the forums with like a needs review tag, which we have in there. And that will indicate us to like, okay, this problem's reoccurring enough that maybe we need to go back and take a look at the documentation itself and fix just that root cause, because if obviously people are misunderstanding step 2 every time, then maybe we should just fix step 2 and save ourselves some headache. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well as you're going through support. Anything you see popping up regularly or reoccurring, definitely bring to our attention in any way possible. Alrighty, so that was most of the main high-level overview. We'll be working on documenting some of or updating the support team resources to reflect some of this. But moving forward, as it stands, currently most of you guys are all considered L1 support, but we do have some very technical users here in our ambassador team now. So as we continue to improve and get everyone up to speed, we will start to promote some of you to L2 and start trying to kind of balance out those, those responsibilities across the engineering and support teams as easy as possible. That way, obviously, we don't want one person to be overwhelmed with all the questions. Awesome. Well, beyond that, that was everything I had for you guys today. Was there any questions, concerns, feedback? Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, hi, Justin. So, while we're capturing the nature of the problem, I just made some notes on some things that might help us. I don't know if we, in the maybe in the support ambassadors channel, we could maybe. I've got some suggestions here. Let's see if they're going to go in chat. They're probably they're not formatted very well. But I was thinking we could maybe come up with some just to kind of raise everyone's game. These are the items that we're interested in. I know that it's kind of boring reading lots of other people's bug reports, but there are certain things that are kind of definitely help when you come along to look at one of these issues. So some of this, if I wasn't busy on my project, I'd put myself in to try and put something together. But if anyone wants to collaborate on something, I'm more than happy to help. But they're just some thoughts on how we can all up our game on support.
Definitely. Thank you, Jim. I really appreciate that. These are all definitely very, very helpful topics that I think we could spend an hour diving into each individually. So I definitely agree that we probably want to get some of these resources expanded a little bit, and documented a little bit easier for all of us to utilize as well. Go ahead, Mattia.
Hi, I was 5 minutes late. Maybe I didn't catch something at the beginning. But let's say if somebody has a question on Telegram or on Discord, if I'm able to answer, I can just write there, I suppose. But if I'm not aware of the direct answer, I will go on the forum and check. And if I'm not able to find answer, I will try to create a thread on the forum. Is that correct?
Correct. So ideally, we'd want to encourage the user themselves to create the thread. Obviously, that way they get the notifications of like responses and stuff. But push comes to shove, if they're not really feeling it, I guess, then yeah, we will create the form ourselves, or the post ourselves. That way, it will at least maintain within our process.
Yes, because I feel like if you send the link to people, they're less reluctant, they're reluctant to press on the link and check themselves. They would rather like to see the answer just below their question. That's my experience.
Definitely, and then that's kind of one of the catch-22s we're trying to resolve, because obviously, general web dev knowledge says that users don't want to leave the platform they're on. So if you're on Discord, they don't want to leave Discord to go to some forum. Same applies for Telegram or the forum back to Discord. So that's where our hope is. Ideally, over a long term, we can start to just get solutions through the forums, and then that way it won't be, having to click on it, write the thing, and wait for a response, but we can actually just provide them with an answer. But push comes to shove, that is one of the downsides with open source support is, they will have to go through those steps if they want a true and honest, timely response, because otherwise the flip side is we respond to them and say, okay, we try and keep that thread up, but then they get lost in the traffic, and then they just never get an answer, which is obviously a less ideal solution. So I definitely agree that while some users will be reluctant, we just want to try and kind of gently nudge them the best we can, and push comes to shove. If they don't want to go over there, we'll just create it ourselves, and then that way we can at least document it and use it as a resource for future users. Yuri, yes, I actually did see that. I'm glad that you brought that up, because Arthur, who I think is still in here, our product engineering lead, has actually been looking into kind of a CLI wrapper to try and make the CLI process a little bit easier. And we were actually taking a look at that, seeing if we could we were wondering if maybe we could, co-cooperate and make something happen on an official level. That way we can get that out for the community as well, rather than, just being a script on your GitHub personally. But what we can connect offline out in regards to that if you'd like.
Yeah, so the comment, yeah, we're working on it. So happy to sync up with you all about the CLI wrapper.
Go ahead, Jim. I think you're muted, boss.
Sorry, I don't know.
No worries.
Missed the button. So I know if we encounter someone who's struggling in Discord, how hard do you want us to push them to kind of raise the issue themselves on the forum? I know that's our preferred channel to kind of capture new issues in the wild, but I think it's going to be a function of our role to kind of do it for them. It can be a turn off, I guess. They've got to go and create an account, and they might not appreciate being pushed somewhere else. I'm just wondering, do you have thoughts on kind of, we can always gently encourage them, but we don't want to push too hard, I guess.
Yeah, so I have I guess the general mentality of, I guess start gentle and get harder over time, or more strict over time. Like as far as like trying to enforce a new rule with like open communities like this. So to start, for now, I would keep it very, suggestive. Feel free to go over to the forums and create an issue, and we can get an official response from the level 2s. We can get this escalated and resolved for you. If that would be an inconvenience, I'd be happy to get that post made for you and just wait for their response. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll respond to them and say, this looks to be a legitimate problem. Please get this created on the forum so we can get it documented into our development team properly and get it resolved. And then if I don't see them post that, if I don't see a post come through on the forums from them or with a similar issue within like maybe an hour or so, then I'll make it myself and then just respond and be like, I saw that you were busy, so I went ahead and made the post for you. Here you go. Feel free to respond in the forum post with any extra details, and I think that's a good start for now. As we obviously get bigger and bigger and bigger, we will need to be a little bit more strict with those kinds of rules, but we don't want to rub anyone the wrong way, especially on this early stage. All of you guys and all of our community members are still early adopters. So we don't want to be totalitarian about it, but just give that gentle nudge, and probably as we progress, we'll start to be a little bit more nudging with it.
Did you see the PR I posted earlier, Justin? There's a documentation issue. If we're going to start sharing there's a link that's gone out. If someone copy pastes the Docker Compose at the moment, it's got an error in it. Just wanted to make you aware.
Thank you. I will get that fixed today. Thank you for getting that created. And on that note, if you guys ever see any issues with the documentation, I know we're a little apprehensive of having issues being created in like most of our repositories, but the docs is the one where it's really community focused. So if you see anything or have any improvements, feel free to hop into the GitHub and create an issue or a suggestion there. I'm happy to see them and get any feedback. And on that note, thank you, Jim and Jonathan, for both of you guys' issues over the past few days. Alrighty. Do we have any other questions? Going once, twice? Alrighty. Well, thanks everybody for taking the time today. I know we've been having a lot of meetings lately, but we're just trying to make sure we're well prepared for the stress test and then incentivize testnet shortly after. As always, we greatly appreciate all your guys' contributions. Wouldn't be doable without your help. And look forward to the launch next week. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, concerns, or feedback that you didn't feel like sharing in this meeting. My DMs are always open. I'm always happy to chat. Have a good day, everybody.